Hey everybody, Sean here for Sean Talks Movies, and I am back with a brand new instant reaction. It's been a little while since I put one out there, just been busy, but I finally had the chance to get to a movie at the theaters and all that. And it's one that's been out for a couple weeks now. I think it came out limited release and has since moved into a little bit wider, doing pretty well. It's a new horror movie from Fede Alvarez called Don't Breathe.
Yo, I got our ticket out of here. Rumor is this guy is sitting on at least $300K. Boom!
That's our guy.
Wait, is he blind?
Messed up to rob a blind guy, isn't it?
Just because he's blind don't mean he's insane, bro.
Now, the first thing that drew me to wanting to see this movie is the fact that it was directed by Fede Alvarez. If you don't know that name, you might recognize it from, he directed the remake of Evil Dead, which I know a few people who didn't like, but I liked it a lot because it did enough to emulate the original movies, but it didn't, you know, it did its own thing at the same time. And I thought that we saw a very interesting look at a director who can craft a horror story. And Don't Breathe is the first movie that Alvarez has done that is his own kind of idea and property, rather than just working with something that's already kind of established. Essentially, this movie is about three young people, two guys and a girl, who live in Detroit, and they are financially not doing well, as most of the city is not. And they rob people's homes. One of the kids, played by Dylan Minnette, his father, I think, owns a home security company, so he has copies of all the keys. So they just go and rob his father's clients to make a little bit of extra money. The lead here is Jane Levy, who was in Evil Dead. She was the lead there as well. And she is trying to raise enough money to move out to California with her boyfriend and her sister. And the three of them get a tip that there is a house near them that may or may not have $300,000 in cash just lying around. So they go to scope it out, find out that the guy who lives there is this old Army veteran, and he's blind. So they figure this is going to be easy, we'll go in really quick, get the money, and then go. And everything kind of takes a turn for the worse when the blind guy turns out to be kind of a badass and essentially fights back when they break into his home. And that's the premise of the movie. I don't want to give too much more because I think that delving any further would probably offer up a slew of spoilers. The big thing here, I mean, this is not a long movie. It's running just short of 90 minutes, but I think that any more would have been a little bit too much. Alvarez does a really good job of building the tension for this movie, although we don't really get a sense of caring for any of the characters all that much. You don't really get enough time with them to establish that emotional connection. So really we're just watching these three characters kind of roam around this house and be terrorized by this older blind man who just happens to be, for lack of a better way of saying it, attempting to pick them off one by one. And, you know, if you can get past that and you can just focus on the atmosphere, I think Alvarez does a fantastic job of creating a very strong and terrifying atmosphere. It's nice to see a horror movie kind of grounded in reality. We get so many nowadays that are based more in the supernatural or something like that. And this is essentially a more realistic take on, I don't want to say like a slasher villain, but, you know, it's a group of kids who did something wrong and they're trying to make it out alive at this point because they just happen to mess with the wrong guy. Is it one of the better horror movies I've seen this year? It's up there. You know, we've had a few good ones, but I think that this one is definitely worth a watch. If you can, go watch it with some friends. I think the more people in the theater, as would be with most horror movies, the more people you can get in the theater, the better reaction you're going to get, just because you'll have that communal sense of terror as you go through. So Don't Breathe, definitely worth checking out, although it's not, I was expecting a little bit more, something a little more profound, but in terms of just a quality horror flick, you could do a lot worse than this particular movie. Now, if you guys are not already doing so, make sure you guys follow Sean Talks Movies on all of its social media pages, be it Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All of those links are in the description below. If you guys have seen Don't Breathe, let me know down in the comments there. Tell me what you thought, and maybe I'm missing something if you guys liked it a little more, and tell me why I'm wrong if you guys absolutely hated it. Either way, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, doing these videos and the podcast and all that stuff, so be on the watch for more Sean Talks Movies media coming your way. Have a great day, everybody.